Imagine standing at the edge of your potential, one step away from greatness, yet surrounded by noise, doubt, and confusion. Now picture a single flame, steady, unwavering, purposeful. That flame is definiteness of purpose. It cuts through the fog, commands the wind, and ignites every dormant dream within you. This isn't just a concept. It is the starting point of all achievement, the birthplace of every great invention, every towering success, every unstoppable life. Let me take you on a journey where clarity becomes power, and purpose becomes the spark that sets your life on fire. It begins with a question, simple yet profound: what do you want? Not what your parents wanted for you, not what society expects, not what others think is realistic, but what you want with every fiber of your soul. Most people cannot answer that with clarity. They drift, they wander, they hope. They chase shadows, react to circumstances, and surrender their future to chance because they never took the time to define it. But there's a hidden truth only a few ever uncover. The truth that all success, all greatness, all transformation begins the moment you become absolutely clear on what you want. When the mind knows what it wants, it stops wandering. The moment you define your chief aim, a new force awakens within you. Your decisions become sharper, your energy becomes focused, and your actions carry weight. The universe does not respond to vague wishes or half-hearted dreams. It responds to precision, to intent, to the unwavering mental picture of an outcome so vivid that it commands every ounce of your being. That's the power of definiteness. Without it, you are like a ship without a compass. Moving, maybe, but never arriving. There's something magnetic about clarity. When a person walks with certainty, speaks with vision, and acts with purpose, the world pays attention. The scattered mind is ignored, the definite mind is respected. Your mind, when anchored in a single dominant goal, gains access to faculties that otherwise remain dormant. Your thoughts become organized, your subconscious begins to work overtime. You begin to notice patterns, people, resources, opportunities that were always there but invisible to the undecided eye. Why? Because your mental lens is focused. Most live their entire lives reacting. They work jobs they don't love, spend time with people who drain them, do things they hate, and wonder why they're tired, uninspired, and lost. But once you stop and ask yourself the hard question, what do I truly want? And once you commit to the answer, you reclaim your power. It is not enough to wish. Wishes are powerless, but a burning purpose, clearly defined and emotionally charged, becomes a force of nature. It becomes your inner compass, your unwavering North Star. And from that place, every great thing is born. You don't need 100 goals. You need one. One major aim that gives meaning to your days and direction to your efforts. That one goal must dominate your thoughts, influence your behavior, and become the standard by which you judge your choices. Do not dilute your energy chasing 10 different dreams. Pour your soul into one. Give it everything. Because energy scattered is energy lost, but energy focused becomes unstoppable. The river that floods destroys, but the river that flows in a narrow channel carves through mountains. Every person who ever built a legacy, who created wealth, who changed the world, they all had one thing in common. They were obsessed with a single purpose. That obsession wasn't a distraction. It was liberation. It freed them from distractions, from indecision, from mediocrity. While others chased comfort, they chased clarity. While others followed crowds, they followed conviction. They didn't stumble into success. They built it, brick by brick, day by day, with one aim burning in their hearts. Do not fear having a definite aim. Fear living without one. The man who knows what he wants commands respect, not only from others but from himself. He walks taller, speaks clearer, and moves faster. He has no time to waste, no energy to spare. He does not need to be motivated daily because his purpose drives him. He wakes with intention. He works with passion. He endures setbacks not as signs to stop, but as fuel to go further. He has learned that definiteness is not limitation. It is liberation. There is no greater tragedy than potential without direction. A mind filled with talent, ideas, dreams, but no clear aim, will always be a prisoner of uncertainty. But once that mind becomes fixed on a purpose, it transforms. It no longer wonders if success is possible, it begins to expect it. That shift, from wishing to knowing, is the defining line between those who talk and those who do, between those who live and those who merely exist. But let's go deeper. Defining a purpose is not about writing a goal on paper and forgetting it. It's about becoming emotionally obsessed with the outcome. It's about making that vision so real in your mind that you begin to live it long before it happens. That is the secret. Seeing it, feeling it, believing it with such intensity that reality has no choice but to catch up. This is not fantasy. This is mental alchemy. It is the power of transmuting thought into physical form through relentless belief and persistent action. Desire by itself is just an itch, but a burning desire, a desire that is backed by faith, clarity, and action, is the seed of creation. The world does not reward those who dabble. It rewards those who decide. The moment you decide what you want and make it the central focus of your life, everything begins to change. You talk differently. You walk differently. You stop seeking approval because your mission becomes your validation. This burning desire is not optional. It is essential. Without it, your purpose is just a wish. And wishes are soft. They vanish at the first sign of resistance. But when you desire something so deeply that you are willing to pay any price, make any sacrifice, face any fear, and endure any failure, then you have crossed the threshold. That desire becomes your armor. It protects you from doubt, shields you from fear, and drives you through the storms. The man with a burning desire is dangerous, not because of his talent, but because of his focus. The world cannot stop a soul on fire. You cannot be denied what you refuse to stop pursuing, but that refusal must come from the fire of a definite purpose, and that fire must be fed daily, by visualization, by repetition, by belief, and by action. Your burning desire should not be quiet. It should roar. It should scream so loudly within you that it drowns out fear, criticism, and uncertainty. When others sleep, it should keep you awake. When others doubt, it should give you faith. When others stop, it should push you forward. Because the man who burns for a purpose becomes immune to failure. He does not fear defeat. He uses it. He does not beg for success. He claims it. This is the key. Every towering success began as a single spark, a vision held so tightly that even the harshest reality couldn't extinguish it. The power is not in the dream, it's in the decision. The decision to define, to believe, to desire, and to pursue. The man who wants something badly enough will find a way. He will knock on doors, break down barriers, create opportunities where none exist, and persist when others would have quit long ago. His desire is not a feeling, it is his identity. So what do you want? Not what sounds nice, not what feels safe. What do you truly want? Are you willing to define it? Are you willing to commit to it? Are you willing to burn for it? Because until you do, life will remain a series of random events, and your potential will remain a promise unfulfilled. But the moment you define your purpose and light the fire of desire beneath it, you become a force that even life cannot ignore. It's time to choose. It's time to clarify. It's time to burn. Because the road to all achievement starts at the same place, with one clear, definite, unshakable purpose. Everything else is noise. Most people never realize how much energy they waste simply by being distracted. Every day they pour hours into things that don't matter, into decisions that take them nowhere, into people who drain them. They say yes to things they don't believe in. They follow paths that aren't theirs, and they entertain thoughts that do nothing but clutter the mind and weaken the spirit. And why? Because they lack a focal point, a burning reason to say no to the trivial, so they can say yes to what truly matters. When you have no definite purpose, distraction becomes your master. But the moment you lock in on a single aim with unwavering commitment, everything changes. Distraction loses its power. Focus becomes your superpower. With a clear purpose, your mind begins to filter everything through one question: does this serve my goal, or does it steal from it? This is not about being rigid. It's about being intentional. Purpose makes you ruthless with your time, deliberate with your actions, and selective with your energy. You stop wasting hours on shallow entertainment, meaningless gossip, or pointless comparison. You begin to value silence, solitude, and strategy. You choose books over noise, vision over vanity, and work over wishing. Focus doesn't happen by chance. It's forged in the fire of a definite aim. It is the natural byproduct of a mind that has something worth fighting for. There's a peace that comes with focus. While the world rushes in 1,000 directions, the focused individual walks in stillness. He doesn't chase trends, jump at every opportunity, or scatter his talents in 10 different directions. He knows his mission and he honors it. He understands that every yes carries 1,000 silent no's. And he's okay with that, because what he gains is far greater than what he gives up. He gains alignment. He gains momentum. He gains power. It's easy to confuse movement with progress. It's easy to stay busy and feel productive while drifting aimlessly, but motion without direction is just disguised avoidance. Focus is what transforms motion into movement, and movement into momentum. When you focus, you begin to build. You stack one day of progress on top of another. You create a rhythm, a pattern of force that grows stronger with each action. And before long, the impossible starts to look inevitable. The world rewards those who deliver results, not excuses, and results come from consistency. Consistency is born from discipline, and discipline is sustained by focus. You can't afford to entertain every idea, every fear, every temptation. You can't afford to be available to everyone, responsive to everything, and reactive to every distraction. If you want to rise above the noise, you must master the art of focus. And that mastery begins the moment you say, I know what I want, and I refuse to let anything take it from me. Purpose gives you the authority to walk away. It gives you the clarity to filter decisions. It gives you the strength to delay gratification. When others party, you prepare. When others quit, you continue. When others doubt, you believe. Not because you are different, but because your focus is different. You're not scattered. You're streamlined. You're not lost in options. You're anchored in purpose. And that difference changes everything. Those who focus dominate. They dominate not because they are smarter, but because they are more consistent. Not because they are lucky, but because they are laser-focused. They know where they're going, and they move with intensity. Their work reflects their clarity. Their progress reflects their sacrifice. Their results reflect their discipline. The man who focuses cuts through the noise like a blade. He doesn't waste time competing. He creates. He builds. He moves forward while others are stuck in cycles of doubt and distraction. But this power doesn't come just from within. It's also drawn from the outside. When you focus on a definite purpose with absolute belief, something strange begins to happen. Life begins to cooperate. Doors open, people appear, resources flow, ideas strike like lightning. The coincidences aren't random, they're a response. A response to the clarity of your mind and the strength of your intention. When you commit to a purpose with such force that nothing can shake you, it's as if life itself bends to your will. This is not magic, it's law. The world responds to the definite mind. There's a vibration in certainty, a frequency in conviction. When you walk into a room with clear purpose, people feel it. When you speak with clarity, people listen. When you move with determination, people follow. You don't have to convince anyone when your actions speak louder than words. The man who knows where he's going doesn't need approval. He doesn't need permission. He creates the path if one doesn't exist. He builds bridges while others wait for them. And the reason he can do this is because he's not waiting on circumstances to align. He aligns himself first. This alignment doesn't mean life will be easy. It means you'll have power when it's hard. It means when obstacles rise, you rise higher. When delays come, you endure longer. When storms hit, you stand stronger. Why? Because your purpose isn't negotiable. You don't stop to ask if it's possible. You've already decided it is. You don't look back to question your direction. You've already chosen your destination. This level of definiteness doesn't just make you more productive. It makes you more powerful. And when you move with that power, something beautiful happens. Life stops happening to you and starts happening through you. You become the conductor, not the passenger. You stop reacting and stop creating. You stop fearing and start shaping. You realize that the limits you once believed in were illusions built in the absence of clarity. With purpose, you dismantle those illusions. You tear down every mental wall, every self-imposed ceiling, every lie whispered by doubt. And in their place, you build something stronger: conviction. It's not enough to believe that success might happen. You must believe it will and act accordingly. The man who hesitates, who questions his worth, who tiptoes toward his dreams, is always overtaken by the man who charges forward with clarity. That clarity doesn't come from luck. It comes from deciding what you want, cutting away the rest, and moving with relentless focus toward it. When you act with definiteness, you set a tone that others notice. People are drawn to those with direction. They admire it. They trust it. They want to be part of it. Your purpose, clearly defined and passionately pursued, becomes a magnet. It pulls the right people toward you. Partners, clients, mentors, investors, friends. Not because you asked, but because your clarity made them believe. Your focus gives them confidence. Your certainty gives them hope. The man without a purpose is always chasing. Chasing money, chasing approval, chasing status. But the man with a purpose attracts. He becomes a lighthouse, not a boat. He stands firm while others drift. And that stillness, that certainty, gives him a quiet, undeniable strength. The storms still come, but he doesn't waver. The winds still blow, but he doesn't fall. Why? Because his roots run deep into the soil of purpose. This is how lives change. Not through luck, not through waiting, but through intention. When you fix your mind on a clear outcome, when you direct every thought, every word, every action toward that end, the world responds. It may not happen overnight, but it will happen. It must happen. Because the law of life is clear. What you focus on expands. What you persist toward manifests. What you desire with faith and pursue with action becomes real. So let the world be distracted. Let others drift. Let them chase comfort, applause, and instant pleasure. You, instead, choose purpose. Choose focus. Choose to walk a path that may be harder, but leads somewhere. The road of the definite is narrow, but it is powerful. It asks for everything, but it gives more than it takes. It demands clarity, but rewards with legacy. And in the end, it's not the scattered mind that wins. It's the focused one. The one that knew what it wanted, refused to quit, and made the world adjust to its will. Every dream worth chasing will test your patience. It will stretch your endurance. It will confront you with rejection, failure, criticism, and uncertainty. The path to anything meaningful is not a straight line. It's a winding road filled with setbacks that feel like walls. But there's one quality that makes the difference between those who stop and those who succeed, and that quality is persistence. Not temporary effort, not brief motivation, but unwavering, relentless, daily pursuit of a single definite goal. When you know what you want and why you want it, quitting no longer becomes an option. You no longer wonder if it's worth it. You remind yourself that you've already decided it is. This kind of persistence isn't born from sheer willpower. It's born from purpose. When you are crystal clear on your chief aim, every challenge becomes a stepping stone rather than a stumbling block. The man with a purpose doesn't stop when it's hard. He digs deeper. He doesn't retreat in the face of defeat. He re-strategizes. He doesn't fold when the applause is gone. He performs even louder, because his commitment is not based on outcome. It's based on identity. His purpose is not a project, it's who he is. Most people only persist when things are going their way. They keep going while it's easy, while they're being supported, while they're getting results. But the moment the road gets quiet, the moment it gets lonely or hard or slow, they pull back. Not because they weren't capable, but because they were not anchored in a purpose strong enough to outlast their emotions. This is where most give up, right at the point where persistence is just beginning to work. They think persistence means a few weeks of effort, but true persistence is measured in years, in decades, in the refusal to back down from a vision even when there's no visible sign of progress. You must become so emotionally attached to your purpose that it becomes impossible to walk away. You must see every setback not as a signal to stop, but as confirmation that you're pushing into new territory. Obstacles are not roadblocks. They are indicators that you're on the right track. If the road were smooth, everyone would be on it. The very resistance you feel is proof that you're separating yourself from the crowd. And if you persist long enough, the resistance weakens, the path opens, and the success that once seemed unreachable becomes inevitable. But persistence is not about speed. It's about endurance. It's not how fast you move. It's how consistently you show up. Even when no one is watching, even when the world doubts you, even when your own mind whispers that it might never happen, you persist because the alternative, giving up, is no longer part of your vocabulary. You persist because you know that failure is never final unless you quit. You persist because you've learned the great truth that every struggle contains a lesson and every delay carries preparation for what's coming. There will be days when you feel like you're moving backward, days when nothing makes sense, days when progress feels invisible. And those are the most important days to keep going, not because you're seeing results, but because you're building resilience. The world doesn't belong to the most talented. It belongs to the most persistent. Talent may open doors, but persistence keeps them open. Genius may impress people, but persistence earns respect. Intelligence may win arguments, but persistence wins championships. The man who keeps showing up, long after others have quit, becomes unstoppable not because of his skill, but because of his refusal to surrender. This quality is rare, it's uncomfortable, it's lonely, but it's worth it. Because persistence creates something inside you that cannot be shaken. A depth of character, a mental toughness, a spiritual fire. And once you've walked through the storm and stayed on your path, you emerge on the other side as someone different, someone forged in fire. And no one can take that from you, not the economy, not the critics, not the circumstances. You become your own foundation. Persistence is the bridge between your purpose and your reality. You may start with a dream, but you finish with results. And everything in between is defined by your ability to keep going, to keep believing, to keep acting. Even when your emotions scream at you to quit. Even when your progress feels microscopic. Even when no one else believes in your vision. You stay the course because the course is yours. No one can walk it for you. No one can give you the reward without the struggle. And that struggle, that journey, is what turns ordinary people into legends. But there's another truth, and it's just as powerful. Defining a purpose, And backing it with persistence doesn't just make you strong, it makes you magnetic. When you fully commit to one major goal and pursue it with unwavering intensity, you begin to attract people, ideas, opportunities, and resources that were invisible before, not because they weren't there, but because you weren't yet aligned with them. The mind, when focused and determined, sends out a silent signal, and that signal calls to the world, bringing into your life exactly what you need to fulfill your vision. This is not superstition, it is the natural law of cause and effect. The man who is definite in his purpose becomes attractive to power. Not physical power, but creative power. The power of faith, the power of influence, the power of connection. He begins to operate on a different frequency, one that resonates with the very forces that shape reality. And those forces, in time, begin to serve him, not by accident, but by design, because life gives more to the man who is sure of what he wants and proves it through persistence. The man with a definite purpose backed by unshakable persistence begins to develop a charisma, a presence, an energy. People feel it before he even speaks. His eyes carry conviction. His words carry weight. His actions speak with authority, not because he tries to impress, but because he no longer needs to. He knows who he is, where he's going, and why it matters. And that knowing draws others to him, partners, clients, followers, supporters. He becomes a beacon for others who lack direction, who hunger for leadership, who are searching for meaning in a world filled with noise. This attraction to power is not manipulative. It is natural. Power respects purpose. The universe yields to the determined. When you walk with decisiveness, doors open. When you move with confidence, obstacles shrink. When you act with relentless belief, what once seemed impossible begins to unfold in ways you couldn't have imagined. This is the hidden advantage of definiteness. It puts you in a state of inner alignment, and that alignment draws outer alignment. The internal becomes external. The invisible becomes visible. You may not be the fastest. You may not be the smartest. You may not be the most connected. But if you have a clear goal, a purpose that drives you, and the persistence to keep going, you will rise. You will grow. You will win. Because nothing in this world can stop the man who refuses to stop himself. He may fall, but he gets up. He may fail, but he learns. He may be delayed, but never denied. Because he understands that failure is feedback, that time is a tool, and that every obstacle contains within it the seed of equal or greater opportunity. It's not about proving others wrong. It's about proving yourself right. It's about honoring the vision that was placed inside you. It's about living a life that means something, a life that leaves a mark. You don't need permission to pursue your purpose. You need persistence to achieve it. You don't need approval to be powerful. You need clarity to walk with it. And you don't need guarantees to succeed. You need a decision so strong, so final, that success becomes inevitable. This decision, that you will define what you want, and that you will never stop until you get it, changes everything. It transforms you from passive to powerful, from reactive to intentional, from ordinary to exceptional. Because most people live by accident, but the very few, live by design, and design requires direction. Direction requires purpose, and purpose demands persistence. When you walk in that combination, definiteness of purpose and relentless persistence, you become a force. You begin to shape your world instead of being shaped by it. You stop asking what's possible, and you start deciding what's inevitable. And when others look at your results and call you lucky, you'll smile. Not because they're wrong, but because they never saw the nights you stayed up, the days you felt like quitting, the doubts you silenced, and the storms you walked through. You'll smile because you'll know the truth. There was no luck. There was only purpose, and the power that came when you refused to stop.